I love the upbeat voice that you bring to this discussion every single week. How are you doing, Nico?
I'm doing fine. I'm just with my parents at home, so getting back to the roots of where it all started. But it's good being back at home. So all good. Weather is quite nice as well. Doing some bicycle actions with my father. So all good. How are you? Are you still in Sweden or in Tallinn, or where are you?
I'm back in Malta now, or I don't know if I'm in Malta or if I'm in hell at the moment, because there's considering that I woke up this morning and it was like 40 degrees outside. So it sure feels that we are not on this planet anymore for some reason. But yeah, back here for now. I came back from Tallinn at a fantastic conference the other week that was organized by our very own Tim Heath, our good friend. He invited his partners and key stakeholders of the industry last week to Tallinn for a combined work and pleasure trip, you could say. A bit of conference, a bit of fun, a bit of poker, a bit of everything. And while it was really great, it also took about a year of my life. But yeah, I'd say it was totally worth it, to be honest. So yeah.
But I'm pretty sure as the Swedish born and raised people have the pretty much the longest life kind of years, you will do good with just having 1 year less within your life, but I'm pretty sure you will still kind of year out grow each and every one of us being in the room as well. Bogdan, how are you?
Hello, everyone. Well, I'm fine. I'm just listening of what you are saying that the life expectancy for Pierre will anyway be good. I do agree.
Well,
We
I'm
shouldn't
planning
be
to live
worried.
to 150, so 149 is okay.
Well, I'm not sure if I would like to. Okay, if I can still place some bets and have fun and be kind of a self doing everything, then I have nothing against. But I think if we will live that long, that the planet will be overcrowded anyway, and the battery we have, I think, gets some sort of expiration date. So I'm not looking to live 150, but would be quite cool to see how everything going to be in, let's say, 50 years from now. So definitely something to look for. And the parties which you and the conference and the work and the pleasure which you just had in Tallinn, I think is something you would rather want to repeat next year than don't.
Absolutely, and this was Tim's words as well, that he wants to create like the Davos of iGaming, in his own words. That was what he mentioned. So if you can manage to do that, that would be great, of course. Um, Catie, really nice to see you on stage here as well. Good morning to you. I've been following your LinkedIn posts, your videos, and everything. I saw you went to the Sigma gathering in Marbella the other week. How are you doing this morning?
Hey, good morning. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I've been trying to stay updated on LinkedIn a bit. All good here. I'm in Spain, hot weather, not 40 degrees, so it's better here. I think it's like 25. It's nice.
Good, good. Yeah, then you're in a better spot than us. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Good, good, good. And good morning, Karolina, as well. You are joining us this morning.
Yes, good morning. I think I have mistaken my schedule, which I thought wouldn't let me join, but seems I can't be here. So great.
Fantastic, because we have a really, really interesting topic and discussion in front of us today. And so last week I mentioned this conference in Tallinn. We organized this conference, one of the days for a conference, and it was filled of roundtable discussions. And I was moderating a roundtable that was titled Gambling Trends 2023. And it became such an interesting discussion that I was thinking that we will keep this topic for the clubhouse today, actually. So essentially, we will try to explore a little bit what we believe are the key trends in the next couple of years in the iGaming industry. And also a little bit, I wanted to introduce kind of that topic a little bit after Nico does his weekly wrap-up with why it's so important to be ahead of the trends. And it seems quite intuitive, but I would like to introduce some interesting thoughts and on these topics as well, and then we'll discuss what we think are some of the most interesting trends. And I will recap a little bit as well on what came out of the roundtables last week as well to kind of get the discussion going. But I'm really excited actually for the discussion today. So I hope my dear panelists in here are as well. So take a couple of minutes and just have a think of what you believe are some of the key trends that we will be seeing now in the next couple of years in the industry. And also before we start, I would like to ask everyone in the room, if anyone wants to come on stage, just feel free to raise your hand and we will welcome you up. I know that there are a couple of people who are joining us in a little bit as well to this discussion. And also, if you would like to invite people to listen in to the room, you can click the little plus symbol in the lower right corner and just spam click everyone that you see who you think could enjoy this discussion, basically, and we would appreciate that. Also, a final thing, the session today is being recorded and it will be posted afterwards in the iGaming social media channels, but like always, we have very much respect the privacy rules of Clubhouse and the ethos in here. So if anyone would like to be excluded from being published out in the wider interwebs, then just let me know and we'll make sure to edit anything out. So with that being said, Nico, would you like to take over here? I know that you have prepared just an incredible, fantastic wrap-up of what's happening in the iGaming industry this week.
Of course, thank you. As often already talked about, we already see some issues or declining numbers of the new German regulatory, or based on the new German regulatory, with Bet@Home reporting a decline of nearly 9% based on their H1 revenue. So as a result of the regulatory limitations imposed on its product verticals, Bet@Home first half EBITDA declined to a total of 5.4 million euros, which is approximately 1/3 of the comparable H1 2020 EBITDA outcome, which had been roughly 16 million. And please remember that within the H1 of 2020, this also included the no sports at all months of March and April 2020 due to the COVID restrictions. So in the end, the decline in the overall volumes is even more significant. Another story, Tipico and CBC, they enter the acquisition race of the William Hill assets, which Caesars is putting on sale. So Tipico is the biggest betting company from Germany. They are reported to be among the front runners aiming for the William Hill European off-cards. We talked about Tipico already last week, as they're extending or aiming to also participate in the US, which we stated last week, and the William Hill retail businesses on sale, as Caesar has no interest at all. So the Tipico is considered as being highly interested, of course, in the William Hill premises, and they released a credible offer to Caesars. And this offer will rank in between 1.2 or 1.5 billion pounds. So we will for sure see the William Hill assets being bought by any bigger company. CBC also has been quite active with respect to La Liga, as they just bought a stake for 2.7 billion. It's representing 10% of the La Liga business. And this deal is representing the businesses, subsidiaries, and the joint ventures of La Liga. CBC already filed a deal like this, looking for the Italian or Italy-based Serie A, also 10% for a 2 billion deal. But this deal had been declined by the kind of Super League members, Juventus Turin and Inter Milan, and they stated that the aim price was too low. And this line of argument also applies to the Spanish heavyweights clubs, also looking for the Super League. It's the Barcelona Football Club and Real Madrid. So although this deal already seems to be done, we possibly see a change along the line. But it's interesting that CBC is looking to enter or to buy official leagues, big player leagues in Europe, as they have been the former owner of the Formula One and the MotoGP, and they sold their premises as already again. Heading back to the US and Canada. So the revenue in Virginia and in Nevada, they are dipping in June based on the month-to-month numbers, reported numbers from May to June. So in Nevada and in Virginia, we see a slight decline. Then North Carolina, the sports betting bill is finally back in action. If you're not familiar with North Carolina, the existing law permits betting and both, so college and professional sports, but all bettors must place their wagers in person at one of two retail locations. So it's pretty unique. And the Senate bill 688 wants to see the sports books pop up across the state in order to fund education programs. So the estimated numbers are seeing a state revenue of $50 million per year. And this money should be used to actually start and fund education programs. Another interesting move is Washington, D.C.'s BAST launched retail sports betting on the 29th of July, which is last week, Thursday. So business in Washington are set to open retail sports betting last week on a Thursday through an exclusive partnership with the DC lottery-powered sportsbook operator GameBet DC. So sports betting in Washington is quite unique, as all services can only be offered as a partnership with GameBet DC. And we are thrilled to see the operators' revenues being reported, as all businesses offering the service of sports betting in Washington will receive a 5% commission on all sports betting sales and a further 1% commission in cashing of winnings, which makes the overall situation in Washington, D.C. A pretty much all affiliate deal. But it's obviously worth for operators to have a look at this. So we will see what revenues the operators being involved in the Washington, D.C. race for sports betting licenses will report. Heading over to the M&A side. So PaySafe is acquiring the Peru-based Pago Efectivo. So the payment solution provider PaySafe, they already signed an agreement to acquire the Peruvian alternative payment platform Page Efectivo. The deal will see the page Effectivo staff, including the CEO, joining the PaySafe team. Unfortunately, numbers of the deal are no public information, so we can just guess what the deal size actually will be. So as soon as anyone has any numbers to share, we're happy to see it. A big deal we've seen is the South Korean Netmarble. They are buying the Hong Kong-based casino game app called SpinX for roughly $2.2 billion. For all those not being familiar with SpinX, SpinX was established in 2014, and they are offering casino mobile apps such as the Cash Frenzy, and they reported revenues for the second quarter of this year being worth $286 million, and they are ranking third out of the firms in the global mobile social casino genre. Another big deal is Wiki to acquire the MGM Growth properties in a deal being worth $17.2 billion. So the Wiki Properties is the real estate investment spin-off of Caesars Entertainment. And this spin-off has taken place in 2017. And they agreed to acquire the other heavyweight, the MGM Growth properties, which is a spin-off of the MGM Resorts. So this deal includes 15 casino properties like the Mirage, the Mandalay Bay, and the Park MGM. When this deal closes, Wiki will have an estimated market cap of $45 billion, and they will likely be the biggest landowner on the Las Vegas Strip. In addition to this buyout deal, they will enter into a master lease agreement with MGM, so they are leasing their properties with a deal being worth $860 million a year. Heading over to the legal side, the Italian football authorities call for a suspension of betting sponsorships ban. So by 1st of January 2019, all geo-targeting commercial marketings which are based in Italy had been banned. So it's including product placement, distribution of branded items, and influencer marketing. But of course, Italian clubs had been able to agree on gambling deals outside of Italy. Due to all the shortcuts based on COVID and COVID restrictions, like no fans inside the stadium, inside the arena, the Italian Football Federation just make the stand with respect to, okay, we should be able to actually close deals also in Italy. And then heading over to the tech, Caesars, they are launching the new sportsbook app following the William Hill acquisition. So first of all, this is what we handled within the breaking news. The William Hill retail shops are being sold by Caesars, and they have always been aiming for the online reach of William Hill. And now they are using the Liberty platform to actually distribute the newest sportsbook app, which will be available within the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. And that's it from my end. Heading over to you, Pierre.
Amazing. Thank you, Nico, for the fantastic update. So interesting with Wiki acquiring MGM and becoming the biggest gambling company in the world after a short evolution stint at the top. Interesting to see how that will play out. But yes, thank you, Nico, for the fantastic wrap up. I know you put a lot of time into this, so really appreciate that you present this every week to us. It's a nice little digest and a good update to what's going on in the industry. Now, let's jump over to the topic of today. discussion around gambling trends 2023. Before we start, I also want to just welcome Daniel, Jan, and Tim to the stage as well. We didn't have time to say hi to you before we started, so welcome to the discussion as well. Nice to see you here. Great panel we have on stage today. And I know as well that Alexandre Tomic and Julian Bahagar is joining us in a little bit here as well. So to kick things off a little bit today, I want to talk about the ability to think about the future and disregard the past in order to create paradigm shifts, let's say. So there's a person that we all know who is absolute champion at something called first principle thinking, and that person is called Elon Musk. Now, first principle thinking is a way to break down a problem or a question to its very core truth, to its very simple core basic truth, the first principles, and then you build the projects from there. The opposite to first principle thinking is thinking by analogy. Now, in our lives, we mostly think in analogies because it is the easiest way to think, it's the easiest way to solve problems, it's the easiest way to go from A to B and to B to C and to move on with our lives, right? So thinking by analogies is when you build on previous iterations. So let's say that you want to create a new car. If you think by analogy, you will look at what Ford has done, what Toyota has done, and what others have done, and you try to iterate. You try to do an incremental improvement based on the history of car making. However, if you think by first principles, you have no respect for tradition. So in Elon Musk's case, for example, when he was younger in the 90s, he asked a very, very basic question. And he asked, basically, as human beings, we are not living sustainable. We cannot live the way we live forever, and therefore we need to become sustainable. This is the very, very basic question that has been guiding Elon Musk in his career. So he broke down the problems into three parts. And how do we save the planet, the human race? And he realized three things. He realized we need to move towards sustainable energy sources, and that eventually led to him founding the company Solar City, which is a solar panel company that is aiming to revolutionize the solar panels industry. Number two, he realized that we need to remove our dependency for oil and gas. And so therefore he created Tesla, which is dependent on electricity rather than petroleum. And number three, which is the most difficult task, let's say, is that he realized that eventually human beings need to become multi-planetary. And that is why he eventually founded SpaceX. The end goal with SpaceX is to take human beings to Mars. Right, it's not to send rockets into orbit. So he figured out the first principles, and he has since been building complexity, and he has been building these organizations, trying to innovate from the very, very basics. He has no respect for tradition. He thinks completely about the problems that he needs to solve from scratch, and then he works his way up from there. Now, if we look at the iGaming industry and we look at kind of similar examples, I would make the argument that the industry has not been very good at thinking from first principles. We have been quite good at following trends, but it's not exactly the same thing. If you are able to follow trends, if you are able to see what we have, what lay ahead of us, you are able then as well to potentially create these paradigm shifts. And not to give our dear panelist here, Tim Heath, too much credit, but I would say that someone who has been great at this first principle thinking, disregarding what others are doing, is our very own Tim Heath in this discussion. Tim has built YOLO Group, Coin Gaming Group, from those very first principles. When Tim founded Coin Gaming Group, it was not about creating just another casino operator. Tim realized that the trends are moving towards crypto. Crypto is the future. Crypto is the current trend at that time, and he was able to innovate and create the biggest casino solutions that is focusing on crypto. That is an excellent example of someone who is able to spot a trend and also innovate while disregarding what other operators are doing. And now Tim is taking this way of thinking into YOLO Group, which is basically creating an ecosystem that is not only an iGaming operator, but he's creating a full ecosystem around the iGaming industry. So, for example, one of the problems that we have right now in the iGaming industry is that it's very difficult to bank. Right? It's very difficult to hold on to a bank account as an iGaming operator or a supplier. Most organizations, they look at this problem and they say, how can we solve this solution the simplest way? Well, maybe we need to have multiple bank accounts with multiple banks in multiple jurisdictions in order to lower the risk. Well, if you look at the problem from a bigger perspective and using those first principles, then what Tim has done is that he, instead of lowering the risk by creating many different bank accounts, he decided, screw it, I will start my own bank. And so he started his own bank, and therefore solving the problem at its core. So,
but yeah, can I say here, it is very, very difficult getting buy-in from the people around you, the people who need to execute, and that's the hardest thing here. So you can have these weird and wonderful ideas, but you also need a motivated team to believe in what you're trying to do as well, which is the hardest part of it.
Absolutely, and going back to Elon Musk, I think Elon Musk has believed so much in his first principles, and he's believed so much in his product that he's been able to put all his wealth on the line multiple times, not knowing if it was going to succeed many times, but he's been able to kind of bulldoze through his ideas eventually, and so yes, it's not that it's a straightforward decision and you figure things out and it's all roses and sunshines. It involves risk as well. So I wanted to just kind of introduce this way of thinking. Thinking by first principles is always where paradigm shifting ideas come from. Moving from the Nokia phone to the iPhone is a clear example of first principle thinking, where Apple disregarded the history of phones, and they decided to use the technology that was available to them to build a phone from the very, very first principles and the technology that was available to them. Now, that was just a little introduction to first principle thinking and how that can revolutionize an industry. So I would like to open up the discussion now today for the iGaming industry. Gambling trends that we see in 2023 and potentially how we can use those trends in order to change the industry, let's say. So, Tim, you were in the discussion from last week, and so I want to start here by passing the ball over to you. What do you feel is the most important trend that you see in the coming years in the iGaming industry?
My view, Pierre, it's not virtual reality or augmented reality or all these buzzwords. It's actually the migration from providing a simple and direct sports book with odds like an Excel sheet or a casino with a lobby of icons. It's actually now becoming more of a content destination like what Barstool's doing in the US. So it's a change in mindset of trying to entertain a player first, give them articles, give them content, give them podcasts, give them video reviews, make it like nearly a journalistic type site, and then have the sports betting as a secondary function on the site. And it might be in the casino, give them streaming, give players something that they actually want to come and watch, and then the gambling is a secondary function, but you've won the trust of the player first by entertaining them. The community aspect around what they're doing, and nearly trying to focus on engagement of a player and trustworthiness of a brand, and the gambling becomes secondary. Now, that might mean that you're not actually as focused on, let's do a first deposit bonus and bring them in here on some antiquated carrot, but actually let's spend money on this entertainment and build the reputation with the customer. Should they wish to gamble, then
Right.
for an operator. Sorry.
Sorry, we lost it here for a second, Tim, but it's okay.
Yes, someone rang me. It's a very scary concept for an operator, because all of a sudden it's not just whack up a lobby of 20 icons of games and icons and put some new releases in there and give some bonus spins, and it's actually going to a lot more deeper into the engagement of a customer, which requires a lot more investment in thinking around how do we actually engage them? Why do they want to choose us as their place of entertainment, or to check the scores? Or, you've got LiveScore out there, livescore.com and ForzaFootball.com. So many people use these LiveScore apps, and you know what? All sports betting operators using Genius or Radar, they have this information of the live scores. Why isn't no one else doing that? Why are they using an affiliate site? You've got to bring the customer in and engage them first, and then if they wish to gamble, then they can. So that's where I think the next shift is coming.
Karolina, Tim here mentioned the importance of building a community and perhaps not advertising gambling first, but pulling an audience and then presenting them with the gambling services. I kind of agree as well that building communities is becoming more and more important for any brand, not just in the gambling industry. But Karolina, you are thinking about this day in, day out. What do you think about the community building and its importance in the coming years for the iGaming?
Well, I think it's super important, of course, and I totally agree with Tim. And I think you're referring to me because we just announced our new hire specifically with that in mind. Because even though we are a B2B product and our primary audience is the operators and the suppliers, but at the end of the day, the product will be used by players, and we decided we need to be engaged in a dialogue with players. We need to be part of the community, and we need to create our own sort of following community with players. So we have now hired a community engagement manager who is ex-streaming community manager from PokerStars, and he lives and breathes Twitch and speaks to all the streamers. He knows how to build a community, and we feel that we have a unique opportunity to try this out as a B2B supplier to build our product fully in sync with community. We want to build this into our product development process. We want to build it into our feature validation process. So I agree that for operators is a huge priority, but I think increasingly it's important as well for the producers of the experience to also be speaking to the community in a more transparent way, rather than just usability studies sort of behind so on. Of gambling and finding the right voice and of interaction with it for usability.
And it looks like you found the right person as well. Daniel, over to you. What's your thoughts here so far? Karolina, Tim mentioned Barstool and creating a community. Is this something you see as well and you think about, or do you have any other thoughts?
Community, I will closely follow what the consumers are doing there. I think it's becoming more and more acceptable now. Much focused on the US market. And it's very interesting to watch the social norms of gaming change over there. And it's definitely becoming more and more of a trend for people to be very proud of their betting behavior. Just to jump back to the general topic, I'm a big Musk fan, and I've read a couple of biographies on him, and I've been following him since pre-PayPal days. And it's great to see people like that work through businesses, and obviously he needed a hell of a lot of capital to be able to realize his dreams. But similarly with Bezos, who said he was I think in his valedictorian speech, he said he was going to the moon and did it a week ago. Criticism aside, you know, some of these visionaries say they're going to do something and they spend their entire life trying to get there. You know, Steve Jobs, you mentioned Apple. I think his famous quote from Apple was, here's to the crazy ones, because it is that hard. And to Tim's point about, you know, people trying to hold you back or people not buying into the idea, I think that's exactly what Steve Jobs was referring to, about how hard it is to really truly innovate. I struggle with even the term innovation in our industry sometimes, because we're dealing with consumer behavior that fundamentally hasn't changed that much for potentially decades or centuries, really. You know, the desire to bet on an outcome. And I feel that what we do as an industry is not necessarily innovate, although it's arguable. I feel like we iterate. You know, we iterate a lot. We look at factors that are changing in technology and society, and we introduce them into our world, or we push them out of our world. In particular, we're beholden to regulation, and as regulation changes, we have to iterate there. And I feel like that's where I see the future, really, and it's looking at the micro movements of industries around our industry, around sports betting, casino. And as I'm in the US space, you know, for me, the innovation or the iteration that I most care about right now is the regulatory side, and how that's evolving really quickly. And, you know, recently we saw the NIL change, which allowed college sponsorships. We're seeing laws changing regularly on sports leagues, and for me, that's the most interesting space to watch over the next year or two or three, is the amalgamation of sports leagues and sports betting together. Because at the end of the day, you've got the product that people are watching, right? The sports leagues, and then you've got the product that people are betting on. They can't live without each other, right? They're two sides of the same coin, and they're getting closer and closer to each other. You know, the leagues are doing crazy deals. I think the NFL just announced a deal this week, which I don't know the details on, so I'm not going to go into too much on it, but around potentially having official betting partners, I think, if I understood it correctly. But data rights and streaming and collaborations between sports leagues and teams, and you probably all saw, you know, Barstool's now sponsoring the Arizona Bowl at the end of the year, and it's just the space between sports and gaming is becoming incredibly tight. I know in Europe we've seen the advertising come to light a lot recently. You know, Spain banning shirt sponsorships, and UK with problems about lots of challenges with shirt sponsorships, and Italy also, I believe. In the US, they're still marching a million miles an hour towards this unity between sports and gaming. I see huge advances over the coming years in over-the-top OTT and streaming, and how that's merging with betting. Again, to drag the products together, both sides of the coin, they'll end up on the same side of the coin. Sports and betting will be one in the future. From there, the biggest trend I see from my own perspective of what I believe my business, Carousel Group, is capitalizing on is the reason we're launching Maxim Bet very soon, which is to capitalize on tangible and meaningful experiences. I don't know if anyone's been to a Maxim party, like a Maxim Super Bowl party, but they're incredible. Everyone wants to be there. And there's a lot of these events happening where real world events, and people are trying to tie them into online experiences, but it's a work in progress. And I think we talked about a couple of weeks ago, I think, Tim, you mentioned some real world online collaborations that you're trying to do, well, you are doing within your brands. And for me, this is a really exciting space, particularly that we're exploring, is these meaningful experiences, and taking a loyalty program from something simple like points, but actually making it real. And in the US, it's becoming quite big, and MGM does a great job. Caesars just announced their rewards program. It's great for brick and mortar casinos because they've got natural value to add, but I think for general online operators, being able to create real, tangible, meaningful experiences is something that we're all just starting to really understand. And for me, that's where I'm going to be focusing our innovation over the next year or two or three, is how do we take sports, betting, and real world experiences and create a full experience, you know, really adding value to the customers. You know, I think Tim before mentioned, you know, content on site and real value to the customer. But from my perspective, it's taking all that and adding layers and layers on top of it, and making making our brands meaningful to customers, whether they're watching sport, whether they're betting, or whether they're looking for news, whether they're out talking to friends, whether they're in a social environment. It's really trying to create a holistic kind of sports betting entertainment experience. I could talk for hours, but I'll leave it there.
Dan, question for you. I know you've got the full send, or is it Nelc guys, and then you've
The
got
Nelc Boys, yeah.
Nelc Boys. You've got the Dan Bazarians of the world. Mate, these guys have millions and millions of followers, and it's nearly like a cult following amongst the sort of the younger generation. Is this the type of real world partnerships? Or do the Nelc Boys go and make their own casino and sportsbook? I mean, where does this go in terms of aligning that real world connection and existing community in there, in your opinion?
Well, they've got their own brand positioning in the market, right? Like Barstool did. Barstool was an incredible acquisition, M&A activity from Penn to try and find a media company, which the Nelc Boys essentially are a media company, a bit like Barstool's a media company, and using that as a marketing tool. I think that's one part of it. I think Steve will do it from the Nelc Boys. Is making a lot of cash doing Twitch streams now for some offshore casino brands. So casino companies are already now realizing how valuable it is to hook into that space. But at the end of the day, they're just eyeballs, right? That's an acquisition or retention partner there. From my perspective, that's not so tangible for people. I think people aspire to be Steve or the guys from like Nelc Boys or whatever. I saw Bob Menery's now doing a podcast as well with one of the Nelc Boys, which will no doubt be snapped up by a gambling company pretty soon. For me, that's one part of it. It's the media, it's the eyeballs, but I believe that it needs to be more tangible, more real. I think people don't just want to aspire. People don't just want to follow Dan Bilzerian on Instagram and say, great, he's got a great lifestyle. People want that lifestyle, or people want to be able to get a part of it. And my personal values on shared value capitalism, I believe that our players should be able to benefit from the economics of our industry, right? Everyone should win, and our players should win too. They should be getting more out of their experience than just winning or losing, or managing a hold for the operator. People want more now. They want more value out of their brands, and I think that's where this space needs to go.
Very interesting. Any comments on Daniel's remarks so far? Great. I want to jump over to John Urbanek. It's really nice to have you on stage here as well, obviously CEO of Endorphina. From Endorphina perspective, I mean, where do you see the trends heading in the gambling industry, and what keeps you up at night when you think about the future of the gambling?
Yeah, first of all, hello guys. I'm a long-time listener and fan of the iGaming Next, and I'm happy to join you for the first time. We, as as a product company that has a little bit different goal than operators, we look at innovation and trends in a different way. Because like Karolina mentioned, you are stuck between your customers and your real customers. So you have the operators and you have the players. And now you have to dance between this. And the moment when you start like a younger company and you come in with these ideas and we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and it's going to be great, and all these old school guys, they don't understand what they're doing because we are so trendy. And at the end of the day, you put out a set of games and you are looking forward to the ones that you put the most effort in, and you think, oh, these are gonna break the bank, the players are gonna love it. And you end up with a portfolio of top games that are, well, in my opinion, quite simple. And let's be frank, boring. So now reality hits you and all your dreams of disruption and innovation are gone for a while. And then it comes into play what you mentioned. You start to think about the first principles. So why the players love these games? Or is it like just, nostalgia? Is it just, they don't trust new stuff? It takes too much time to adapt. What is the real reason? And I jumping between this and how our industry is perceived. And suddenly, I realized this when I was actually in a land-based casino, and I was talking to one manager here in Prague, and the guy was explaining to me that they tried to make their casino more social. They wanted people to, gather around, have a poker tournament, then split into, like slots, and then do whatever they want. And they found out that the best players they have, they are very private, still very private. They don't want to be disrupted. They don't want other people to see them gambling. And we're talking about like 80% of the players. And then it hit me, like one of these first principles, that being regulated as an industry doesn't mean you are being accepted. So this is like, I would say, what keeps me up at night. This general idea that you spend so much time, so many resources, jumping through the hoops of different regulators, doing whatever is necessary to, at the end, be able to what? Pay taxes and maybe advertise openly. Maybe we are not in Spain. And the community, the family of the players, the people around them will still put this negative dogma on them that gambling is bad and it's not entertainment, it's not the same as me playing video games, it's not the same as me watching Netflix. You are not only wasting time, you are also wasting money. And it would be very interesting to find out a product, which actually I think Daniel and Tim are moving to this direction, a product that is saying, look, this is entertainment. This is like new Las Vegas. It's more shows, more, theater, more Cirque du Soleil. And the gambling is like, yeah, it's, in the corner when you want it, it's available. But the main thing is like, we are here to entertain you as a big picture. And I think if we move into this direction online, I agree that there will be more acceptance. Maybe it will be through sports. I cannot say, because for me everything is about product, about the casino game, about what's new out there and what's working. But possibly I can feel that the industry is like bubbling. Everybody's like trying to grab to something new that helps us move in some way. The question is if, like I said, regulation will help us to move forward and show, I would say, regular consumers of other products that their friend, their neighbor that is actually, playing slots on a mobile device is not an addict. He's not ill. He just like chooses a different device, a different measure of entertainment.
That's very, very interesting, Remote, and I love the thought that you got here in regards to here, like having the regulation put upon the industry, and still that is not enough to kind of whitewash the reputation of the industry. Alex, I mean, let's pass the ball over to you. I mean, we talked many times about kind of the purpose of gambling, why people are gambling, and the stigma surrounding the industry. Considering Jan's remarks here, Alex, like, what's your thoughts? Do you think that there is a way for the industry to become accepted by society?
Hello, everybody. Nice to be here with you today. I'm going to sound like a broken record, and I'm just going to repeat what others says before me. I'm just going to try to put that together. I agree with you what just Jan said. There is a stigma, and some gamblers, they don't want to be seen when they gamble. You see it in the casinos. They lurk on each other's slots, and they could hide their slots, but they can't. like you hide your phone or your computer when you feel somebody's lurking over you, they would do it. And actually, if they had the need to do it, it's because other gamblers are lurking on their slot. So there is this thing about slot players lurking over each other. It's a very curious beast. I know what I do usually, I sit at a slot, always book a fra. I don't play slots. I don't like them. I don't know what. Just put the money here and put automatic mode. Something I learned from a gambler also, it drove me crazy. They play in autoplay, And then what I do, I look at the blackjack tables and I look at all the slots players. And you really, there is some kind of secret social aspect behind it. It's very funny how the dynamic that you see between slots players. So they do want to socialize. They do want to share. They something related, I believe, to superstition, the bad eye, that you could steal their luck by looking at the results. But the main point here was brought up Karolina and Daniel. I'm sorry, I wasn't here to listen to what Tim said before, but on one side, we need to have players playing together. We need a community aspect. That's just the first principle. The second principle is that these people, they need to play against each other. And for me, it's very important that the house has to stop being against the players. When the house is going to just be an event organizer, like in a poker tournament, but playing slots or blackjack or whatever, where basically you play slots against other players. Okay, you don't care about the RTP of the slot. The RTP of the slot could be 100%. It's just players that are going to compete against each other. The multipliers they're going to make on these slots, like slots tournaments and stuff like that, like leagues where players are going to play using numbers of data feed of other players. When you have that in place, you remove all the stigma. You remove all the stigma because the players are not playing against the casino, and when we know what's happening, they're losing. They're playing against each other. There is, on top of that, if you do your product properly, a skill aspect. And there is what Daniel said that's very important to me, that we share the value. The player is not just following the guy, and I'm sorry, I'm going to use this term again, but you're the bitch of the casino, and you're the bitch of the promoter of the casino, or the ambassador, whoever you call it. I can't pronounce his name. The Dan Bisberian bodybuilder guy, whatever fuck his name is. And so you just follow these people, or you play against the casino, but at the end of the day, the money is taken away from you. And even if you play with other people, the money is taken away from you. I mean, like in slots races, not slots tournaments, where people are playing with their own money and there is a pot on top of it. So the first principle is community. The second is people that play together, and the house is not involved anymore, except as organizing the event and taking a rake, like on poker. And from that two first principles, will emerge the fact that players just sharing the value between them. So the money is flowing within the community. When you do that, we're done. When we will be able to make that shift, I think we will win. And I believe that if we don't make that shift, and that's been also discussed a lot, and Todd talked about it last year at iGaming Next, another industry is going to come, disrupt us, and just wipe us away. We can't stay in that predatory position where we are playing against the luck of our customer.
If I can add something to Alexandre's, I mean, Alexandre's views are way out there. I tend to agree with some, but I think it would change the nature of our industry completely. Not to say that it shouldn't change completely. As he said, as long as we're seen in a predatory context, the stigma would always be there. So perhaps this is one way. But another thing I wanted to say is to refer to what Jan said, that the best players want to remain anonymous and it's 80% of the players. What I believe in is that it's 80% of the players now. It will be 20% of the players in 5 years. That's the whole sort of belief behind what we're trying to do, is that we're trying to build the product for the next generation of players. So not for the needs that the players who are aging now have. Those needs will remain potentially like that, but we shouldn't look at players anymore. The best players are not the ones that are losing the most money. And this is obviously a controversial view, because that's how the industry makes money, on the big high rollers. But as long as that's the core revenue generator for the industry, that's as long as we're going to be stigmatized. And I believe that gambling can be entertainment and can be enjoyed responsibly, but only if it's built to facilitate that entertainment. If someone is coming in to play for fun, there's nothing to be ashamed for. If they're coming in to play with the money that they can afford to spend, there is nothing to be ashamed for. And if you look in land-based casinos, the players that are hiding and lurking, they're usually the ones that are there too often, and they are spending too much. And they know that, and they put themselves in a position of guilt and being ashamed. And also they don't want people to see that habitual gaming, that it's probably a little bit out of control. The players that you see in Vegas that come on a trip and a holiday with other friends, and they stop in a casino before they go to a Calvin Harris concert or an Omnia, they're not hiding. They're not ashamed of what they're doing. They have a pretty fine amount of money that they are looking to spend. If they win, great, and they keep investing it. Or if they lose, it's not like they've lost their school tuition or whatever this disposable income was meant for. It's the same on the cruise ships, where people come specifically with money committed towards gambling, and it's a massive revenue stream, the biggest revenue stream on the cruise ships. But you'll never see players in that environment being ashamed or wanting to stay hugely anonymous. It's a rare on VIP cruises. So I'm trying to say that in future, if the products are built in a way that facilitates mass entertainment at lower stakes, and the profit is not from churning players at tables fast at the highest stake limits just to get all their money in the shortest possible time, then the stigma would be seen differently. And I think that's why sportsbook in the US doesn't carry that stigma, because it's more driven by the sports calendar. It's more social. There's more people doing it, and there's, I guess, less people doing it at the irresponsible level, where they spiral down into addiction and they spend way too much money. So this would be a massive hit for the industry when it comes to revenues if we created products that don't take the really high stakes, and this would alienate some players. But 80% of the players that would be alienated would be the players that probably shouldn't gamble. There would be 20% that have enough disposable income to afford that level of play, but the 80% of them would be the ones that can't. So that's what I think. I think we should stop looking at players in a context of the best players are the ones that spends the most money. In future, I don't believe that we will be allowed to operate if we maintain that view.
Right. Very interesting, Karolina. So it's again going back to those first principles and saying, if we produce a social casino product for the existing players, and what the industry has been doing until now is cater for those anonymous players, and they are the ones that are in our ecosystem, then we won't cater for that big part of that group. But what you are saying is, well, hold on a minute. If we create this social casino solution, then maybe we can pull in a completely new demographic
Exactly.
into our ecosystem. Yeah, very interesting. Thanks for that, Karolina. I'm a bit mindful of time here, but I'm really curious, Catie, to jump over to your side as well. I know that you are in the field of marketing, and I know as well that you're consulting for Hard Rock. And I would love to hear your thoughts, Catie, on what you feel are kind of the trends within the marketing space as you see it. Like, what marketing channels are interesting to you as we look forward into the future? How do you see the trends changing, and how potentially do you want to pull in a new demographic into the clients that you work for?
Thank you for asking. It's such an interesting subject, this actually. And I think, like several of you talked about, Twitch, like, and having a new Las Vegas. I think there was Jan who mentioned it. Like, people are looking for it. Me, like all of you talk a lot about sportsbook. I'm not that very into sportsbook. I'm more of a casino player. So when I go to Twitch, you know, obviously I watch a lot of casino and stuff, but when I want to feel social on Twitch, I watch movies with other people. I watch people do stuff together. Like, that's how I believe we can bring in new people in the future to the casino. Maybe through, I don't know, having Britney Spears doing her slot tournament, or, you know, something like that. Having basketball players play FIFA, whatever. That's how I see in the future that they might do. And you talked a lot about how people, especially, I think you mentioned more that Europe, they're very like anonymous. But what I see in the US is that they're very, very open with how much they play, how much they bet, who's their host. They're very, very social. If they are a big, big player online, they want to be able to come into the land-based casino, get a room, be able to be treated especially nice, you know. So it's all very, very much connected. And I follow a lot of Facebook groups right now, in the US, of course, players that love casino in the US. And everyone is simply just asking for more of a community, like special rooms where they can meet, like casino players who love to play together, that they can have little rooms where they can compete against each other, or they can have special memberships where, they're a part of this group that always plays on Thursday, whatever. So yeah. And I just want to mention a bit about the stigma as well. I talked about this on my LinkedIn videos, and I think that the biggest way to remove stigma is by teaching the players how to play. Because I think there's so many who want to learn more products, or learn new games, or, what this mega way is, what they see it everywhere, stuff like that. And I think, sure, they can Google it, but the best way would be to build the trust from the house and actually show, listen, we want you to learn, we want you to win, this is how you do it. And yeah, that's my thoughts. Sorry, I'm going a bit over now.
Not at all, Catie. I think you're super interesting points, and spot on with your thoughts on marketing. Please make sure to come back to the Thursdays, Catie. Okay?
Yes, I will. I will. Thank you.
Very good. Amazing. Thanks for that, Catie. It's really, really interesting to hear your thoughts on from a marketing perspective. It seems to be the community aspect that is a little bit of an emerging trend for sure. I mean, look at Discord, for example. This chat program that's very similar to IRC that the gamers used to use back in the day, which rejected an offer from Microsoft for like $12 billion. In Discord, there is all these micro communities, millions and millions of micro communities that are discussing various topics. Even if you look at Discord chat groups that are discussing Nike, for example, brand, there's like 100 different servers that are dedicated to fans of Nike that are connecting, and so this, as an organization, I think.
But it's like, I just want to jump in. It's like,
yes.
Grand Theft Auto. Like right now, if you play online, everything is only in their casino. They're pushing their casino. You have to come in every day and you get new rewards on the casino. It's like you have special, bank robberies in the casino. You have special shops you're doing in the casino. Everything is pushed for the casino. So I think the new generation now is slowly learning how to, not like, okay, GTA is like very extreme, but they're learning how to play and where to do it. They can do it with friends, and with that, I also think it comes a lot of with like social awareness. Like I talk a lot with my kids, they're very young still, but about entertainment, how to put aside a certain amount of money on entertainment. You can't like believe everything is perfect all the time, stuff like that. And I don't know, it's very similar to that, I think.
Yes, it's a great point, Catie. I mean, the new generation are growing up with different circumstances than our generation, for sure. We are a bit over time here today, but as a final thing, I'd love to hear Bogdan as well summarize the discussion today and just what you have learned in this. Any light bulbs that have been lit above your head here, Bogdan. Feel free to share what you.
Well, I guess pretty much everything what is very interesting has been already said, but if I can add my 2 cents, what I think we will need to change, and something what we are all looking very much into is actually the technology. We've seen all these moves into the, for instance, 5G. But again, I think I've been telling about this a couple of weeks ago. Then we are moving toward the new technology, while there is still a lot of regions, even in well-developed countries and in the big cities, where actually you can even use properly 4G. So the mobile technology, which we pretty much live everyone on today on a daily basis, and our smartphone is the device which we never lose our sight of. This is something what's in my opinion will have the strongest impact in the future when it comes to what we will do and how the punters, how the players will actually use our products and gamble. And as for the gamble, we also see a lot of restrictions. So I feel the pain which Jan has when it comes to the regulations. I actually also experienced a couple of I would say, bad moves from for instance, from the banks, where recently I've been depositing to one of the operators, and I've been extra charged for depositing money to the gambling company, which is pretty much ridiculous. But coming back to this, what I wanted to say is we've seen the changes, the entertainment which people are looking for, and some paths which companies like, for instance, Evolution, which we've been talking about quite often and quite many times about. They find out that providing it entertaining is something, together with the socializing, when you can speak actually to the dealer, you can chat with your other friends who are placing the bets, is something what actually create this great atmosphere. And this is where the entire world is moving forward when it comes to our industry. And on the other hand, speaking about the technology, I'm going to be a bit stubborn when it comes to this topic. And I also see that big companies are entering this, for instance, streaming rights market, and providing the streaming which they would like to combine with sport, and finding the ways for monetizing using the social the media channels. Twitch is a very good example of it, and also mentioned by Catie. Well, TikTok is also doing something what cannot be said that is or cannot be forgotten or said that is something wrong. Is the teenagers, the future clients of ours, are using this on a massive scale, and we are seeing already there that the entertainment and socializing is the next big thing which happening on our eyes. But if we're going to get so many restrictions, and if we're going to have so many constraints when it comes to the technology, speaking of which, the other day I just read announcement that, by the way, Pierre, Swedish company, Viaplay is entering Polish streaming markets, and to my very big surprise, they wanted to enter the sport relations. They're going to broadcast the sport events, like, for instance, Formula One, with up to 90-second delay with 720p picture quality. Well, I feel like going back 8-9 years in time. So that's something what some companies are struggling and don't pretty much understand what the customers want. Customers bought the expensive smartphones. They have a great technology on their desk. Then they want to utilize the content in the best possible way. So until someone will not actually grasp that and understand, we're not going to see so many changes which are going into our favor and in favor of all of us, utilizing the technology in the right way, and at the same time trying to find some ways when it comes to these constraints the regulations are putting ahead of us. And last, what I wanted to say, some of the companies from our industry, the good example is Puff. They also working into the responsible gaming and limitation of the players into bigger extent. So that is something what I think we will face in the very near future, where regulations itself gonna put limitations to the players in order to, well, protect them, but it's not really the protection, because when you forbid something or you're trying to stop the customer, they're going to find a way, and they're going to move into the gray zone for having the entertainment they are expecting. So not really sure what to say, what to expect, but I'm looking very much forward to the companies who finally going to find a great synergy between the technology, current constraints, and the urge of the customers of socializing, especially right now during this crazy COVID era. We kind of forgot it a little bit, but still living on.
Brilliant, Bogdan. The convergence of technology is what will drive us forward, let's say. Guys, before we close things off today, I'd like to leave the mic open here for a little bit. If anyone has any final remarks today, anything to add as a nice little closure to the discussion today, feel free to take over if there's anything to add. Tim.
Yeah, just for me, I just want to say thanks to Pierre for coming along and hosting a couple of the roundtables at the little event we had last weekend, and good fun being a part of it all. And yeah, Pierre, you added a lot of good energy and enthusiasm. So thanks, mate, for helping out there.
Thank you, Tim. It's an absolute pleasure. Loving to host these things. It's an absolute joy. And also, Tim, just to right back at you as well, I want to say the first successfully organized event within the gaming industry in Europe this year, and what an absolute amazing event it was. The Davos of gaming, as you call it. I can only grow, it can only become better. So I hope that the invitation stands for next year as well.
I still feel a little bit hungover from the 3 days of event and partying as well.
Yeah, we're slowly coming back. Liesbeth, I saw you were flashing your mic here as well. Is there anything to add? It's nice to have you on stage. Sorry that we haven't been able to leave the word over to you today.
Hi.
Anything to add here as well?
No problem, I was late. No, listening to this super interesting, and I think like when Catie was talking about the social part, and in the US especially it's being so big, I think this really goes to be bigger and increasing responsible gambling, the connection between social and responsible gambling. It's already acknowledged by, for example, the American Gaming Association. If you go to their top points to how to play responsibly, it's not only setting limits, they also say like, play social, make sure you do it in a group. And this is a really interesting aspect going to the future. I think it takes away what Bogdan says, the more the top-down companies putting limits on the player. It's a bit more of an aggressive relationship, and it takes more of a support and facilitator role for the companies to make sure that the people know what they're doing and keep entertainment from within. So yeah, long-term sustainability.
Absolutely, that is very much tied into the conversation here of the social aspect for sure.
I wanted to
Great,
add
thank
a
you.
very
Yes, Karolina.
but maybe this could be just a sneak peek of subject for next week. I was reading yesterday quite a bit about the metaverse and the ability to breed your own horses, and NASCAR joining in now, sort of offering NASCAR branded horses that live and are bred in the metaverse, and it immediately made me think of what exactly would need to happen, and how far are we from the moment when someone starts organizing races of these horses, and naturally, will betting on those horses become another stream of revenue for us or for someone else that is more forward thinking and acts on this faster than our industry?
I think this is already happening in the NFT space, Karolina. I know that Tim is an avid fan of. I can't remember what the horse race is called now in the NFT space, but essentially it is just like what you are saying. You can breed your own horses that are, we talk horses, it's digital horses, and you can then race them and bet money on them. And this, it's so annoying. I can't remember the name now, but what was it called, Daniel?
Zed.
Yeah, Zed something, yes. And it's already being money bet on these horses, and kind of you breed the horses, you breed them with other horses of certain bloodlines, and you basically pay entry fee just like you would in a normal horse race in order to participate. You can win money, but you can also kind of bet on the horses. So now it's very, very forward thinking, future driven. It'd be very interesting to have more in-depth conversation, because the metaverse is definitely a space for casino as well. Zed Run, it's what it's called. Yes, thank you, Rory, for mentioning that as well. Very interesting space. Absolutely, check it out. Right, guys, I'll leave the final word open again. Is there any final remarks today? Anything to add? It's been an absolutely fantastic, great discussion. We can go on for hours and hours and hours on this topic. Many trends to discover and talk about. But any final words? Then we will close up for today. I want to close up with a nice quote today. I want to end where we began, with the first principles. And since first principle thinking is a physics concept at its core, where the first principle of physics is the speed of light, I want to end with a quote of my favorite physicist, Richard Feynman, who said that the first principle is that you must not fool yourself, and you are the easiest person to fool. Very important to remember in life. And with that, I would like to thank everyone for today, and hopefully see you here next week. Thank you all so much, and take care of each other and your loved ones.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.